Okay, so today I am here with Lowcast extraordinaire Ratburn. Uh, actually, I'm going to preface this by asking you, how do I say your name? Have I been saying it right, Ratburn?
I mean, that's fine. I don't really care too much how people say my name. I guess Ratburn 44 would be the fully correct pronunciation.
Right.
People other places just call me Rat. People in this community, I guess, say Ratburn, which I guess is because that's just what Nixo happened to say first, probably.
Oh, okay, so I can blame Nixo for saying your name wrong. Okay, real.
I mean, I don't really mind how anyone abbreviates it. It's fine by me, however.
Fair enough. I know from experience that I don't really mind, but when some people call me mine, and I'm like, what? Like, I'm not yours. I'm my own independent mind cat. Thank you very much. Anyway, sorry, getting off track. But yes, today I'm here with Lowcast extraordinaire Ratburn, and we're going to be talking to him about a few things. Surprisingly enough, Lowcast, but also Jumpless because you've had a bit of a hand in that recently. But to start things off, would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about how you got into Harry Potter speedrunning?
I guess I am Ratburn. I guess the first thing I saw Harry Potter speedrunning was in like 2016 when it happened to be in SGDQ for the one time, and a friend linked me to that, and I happened to see it. And then I guess a few years after that, at some point, I randomly felt like looking it up on YouTube again and found Nixo's channel, and eventually ended up watching him. And then at some point, I felt like running Lowcast, so I ended up doing that. I guess that's pretty much the story.
Fair enough. I think it's quite a common story I'm hearing that Nixo is kind of a lot of people's ins to the community. Can you explain, for those that don't know, what is Lowcast?
Well, Lowcast is more of a challenge run than a speed run, but the goal, I guess, is just to complete the game with as few casts as possible. So just trying to minimize the thing you're normally using as the main mechanic to advance the game. I guess there are similar challenges in other games, though to be honest, I don't remember any of them specifically.
Uh, and I will preface, we are talking about 2 PC Lowcast here,
Yes, yes.
because one has since
You
gotten
know,
a Lowcast
I
board.
mean, I mean, the description also matches one PC, so it works for either of them. I mean, you could do it in any of the Harry Potter games, but yes, 2 PC is the one that I do.
So I guess the question is, what did Lowcast look like when you joined? Like, where were we at?
Well, it certainly looked a lot different than it does now. I mean, I guess when I, well, before I had even run it myself, when I was just, I guess, watching Nixo do stuff, the run at that point was like 64 casts as the theorized optimal run. It's it's really ridiculous how different the route was back then. Like back then, people had to play a bunch of Quidditch matches, and people even went for like challenge stars and Defendo. And there's a bunch of stuff with getting cards. And Goyle was a completely free level that had no strats in it. So it was certainly a
Um,
very different run from nowadays. And I mean,
mm,
when you look at like the really, well, the strats that were considered the hardest strats at the time, it was pretty much just Nixo willing to go for those.
yeah, sounds like Nathan. Um, so six. I honestly thought it might be higher than 64, but I guess it's gone through so much like optimization. Like you said, Goyle, when you joined, didn't have any strats, and now I look at that level in some of your PBs last year, and it's like 4 hours in that level.
Yeah, Goyle has gotten pretty ridiculous, and that's mostly my fault. I guess honestly, that's where most of the stuff I've found has gone into just figuring out how to get Goyle optimal, which it was like if you do it at 5 casts, Goyle basically free, and now it's down to 2 casts, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Though it's not quite as bad as it was like a couple months ago because of the most recent strat, but with the earlier strats, there were runs where I was like passing 12 hours on the timer and just reset because I couldn't get out of Goyle. And obviously, that's not any of the ones that ended up submitted, but it was pretty much just luck if it only took like 4 hours or whatever.
That's. I mean, how do you stay motivated with something like that?
I guess it's hard to say. I mean, how does anyone stay motivated to just like reset something for hours on end? I guess maybe I just happen to be willing to do a different painful thing than other people are willing to do. I mean, to me, it seems more annoying to just like reset a run over and over than to just do the same strat over and over within the run, knowing that if I get it, I finish.
Fair enough. So obviously, as 2023 has gone through, there's been a bunch of stuff, like you said, in Goyle and other levels as well. But Goyle, I think, was the main one that was found. And we
Yes.
sort of talked about it on the recap, and I know you were a great help. And again, thank you for helping me to understand what was going on as someone who doesn't really follow Lowcast. It was nice to have a good chat with you about that, like offline. But in terms of what's been found more recently, can you talk us through that, please?
I mean, I guess there are multiple things that have been found recently. I mean, even in the last month, just January, there were new updates to Goyle as the route there, so it's totally different from the run before that. And then there's also the thing human found in Aragog, and then of course it isn't Lowcast, but there's also the Jumpless Spongify strat. I guess which of those do you want to talk about? Or first, I
Um,
assume we'll talk about all of them.
let's touch on the Goyle one.
Yeah. So just to give an overview of the state Goyle Lowcast was in before, it had pretty much gotten down to 2 casts, and I hadn't actually done that yet because the strat was pretty much, see, you go through the level, you do 1 cast at the beginning for either like the block boost on that, and then you have to go through and you have to do Pixie Ride, which at this point wasn't too difficult, but then you have to do the gnome bounce in that one awful room to get over a particular spider web. And that room has pretty much like been the bane of Lowcast for like almost 2 years. And that specific trick of bouncing over that web on the gnome while it's in the air after like jumping at a very precise time and getting super lucky. I've gotten that exactly twice in runs, and I really was not looking forward to getting that a third time, so I'm really glad I don't have to now. So the new strat, I guess I should back up even further because when I say that strat, basically we had it down to 3 casts with that because like originally it was 5 casts, and then that strat with the Pixie Ride skipping 1 cast and the Gnome Bounce skipping 1 cast got it down to 3, and there was some stuff in between we don't need to worry about too much right now. But then I just had found a completely unrelated strat at the end of the level, which is why I was looking towards possibly having to do it all again. And that was basically the thing at the end next to the barn, where you pretty much just throw a gnome and let it bounce on Harry's head, and then you have to boost and get blocked by it while going upwards so that you don't boost too high, and then you can get into the barn. And I guess that
But
sounds kind of ridiculous, but that
it does.
is probably the easiest cast save in Goyle, actually. So I guess that's actually related to the newer strat, so I should go into a little bit about that. Because what I had originally been looking for was a way to skip the cast on the block at the beginning of the level to do the block boost. And the idea I had there was basically set up a bunch of mushrooms to try to block Harry from gaining height so he can get underneath the arch that normally you wouldn't be able to get under. And initially I couldn't do that at all. And then I looked near the end of the level and managed to actually do it there. And then Petter pointed out that you could do it with a gnome there, possibly, which would actually save a cast, which I can't believe I didn't think of myself, but thankfully he was there, and we did manage to get that. And then it seemed like it was pretty impossible to do the one at the beginning of the level, so I'd pretty much given up on that for like a few months. Let's see. After that, I guess around like Christmas to New Year's, I was spending a bunch of time investigating a different way to get over the awful web, which ended up being completely fruitless, but did spend a fair amount of time on that before finally going back to the very beginning of the level and eventually figuring out the very precise and extremely luck-based configuration of mushrooms that lets you manage to do the boost out of there without a cast. And that doesn't even save a cast at the point where you're actually doing the trick, because you have to do a cast on the mushroom, but there's just enough mushrooms there that you can bring one mushroom later to the level and then go back and do the strat that we had back in like 2022, where you use a bunch of mushrooms to skip over, well, the other casts that we were skipping with the awful strat before. So it sort of reverted the entire level, except the beginning, back to what it had been like a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the. I keep seeing all the obviously all your concept videos that you post on HP2, and I saw that one with the mushrooms, and I'm like, oh my goodness me, what is this? Like, it feel like, yeah, it was slightly insane.
Oh, like it's kind of funny. Like you might watch like the current Lowcast world record and think like it took 2 hours. That strat must be so awful. I mean, compared to the alternative, the last strat took me like 2 months to get the last time. So it really is a crazy improvement, as bad as that strat might look.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing about something like Lowcast is, while it might look bad, it in the long run skips or improves the run.
Yes.
So you mentioned as well the stuff that humans been finding in Aragog, because human is another person who I feel like between you and human, I feel like once a week at least there's a video in that channel of someone's found like some. I don't want to say small because I don't want to like disquantify what you both are doing, but like something
Yeah,
that's a
yeah,
little
I know exactly what
optimization.
you mean with human. I feel like he's always posting videos that are like, here, this saves 0.5 seconds. Also, you can get it like 10% of the time. Now it's a world record strat, I guess. But everything he finds seems to be ridiculous. But yeah, I just kind of woke up one morning and then looked at my phone and saw like, what? Why? How are we skipping all these casts in Aragog? Well, I guess I have to pay some money now because I put a bounty on that. So that is fun. But yeah, that was certainly an interesting strat to wake up to. I hadn't really imagined that getting skipped. I
So
guess,
is that something? Cause think I remember when I'm trying to remember. Is that something that's now possible, or is it still theoretical?
I mean, it's certainly possible. I haven't gotten it in a run yet, but I intend to go for it relatively soon, depending on when I actually have enough time. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be a viable strat. And by viable, I mean maybe it'll take like hours, but who knows? I should be able to get it at some point.
That's Locust for you, like you say. Like, but yeah,
Yes.
and that's how many cast skips is that?
That strat saves 7 casts in the Aragog boss fight because you
Oh
skip
wow.
all 8 of the casts on the webs, but then you have to cast at like this weird defendo. It's kind of really weird because there's like up above where Aragog is sitting, there's like a defendo spell target, and you can cast, and then that can like activate the fight, but you don't
Ah,
actually need to hit the thing, you just need to have like the spell go through it. I don't understand exactly how it works, but one time when I did it, it worked to activate the fight, and then like the spell came back and randomly hit one of the webs, and then a spider spawned underneath Aragog's web, which was kind of funny. But I guess you can do that in the normal game anyways, easily enough.
true. Yeah. So okay. So I didn't realize that strat was. I knew because I knew it was making progress, but I didn't realize it was now fully. You could theoretically do it in a run. That's cool. Because I remember when at first it is something really cool, and it's like it's hard for obviously me to sort of summarize in a recap or even something like this, like seeing the development of the strat. of seeing human first finding that you could bounce there to then between the two of you finding ways to get up there, and there's something really magical, at least to me, about seeing it grow from an idea to an actual casket.
I mean, I hope you'll be able to see it in a run soon, but so far, at least, there's a much better theory than when we first saw it just sort of randomly flying into the air, which I was extremely terrified of that at first, but then I eventually managed to get it to a point where it seems like something I can maybe do. But I don't know. Some strats just really seem out there until you really figure out what to do with them. Like,
Yeah.
for an example, one thing that seems really easy to me now is like the Pixie Ride in Bicorn. I'm pretty sure in the first completed run that I did, it took me like 2 hours to get that strat.
Blimey.
So yeah, some things seem really hard until you've spent way too much time doing them, and then they don't seem that hard anymore.
Hmm. It's it's cool, but like there's a small part of me, and I think this might be the autistic part of me, that's like sad because at the moment HP2 is at 60 casts and HP1 is at 80, so they're both like nicely rounded. But I'm more happy that it's going down, like because it's so that would take it down to 53. I can.
We get to 53, yes, if we have all the strats in 60 cast plus this. There's
Oh
also
yeah.
one theoretical really awful strat that at the moment is just not realistically going to happen. We'd have to figure out a better way to do it, but it is technically possible to do Spongify without casting.
Hmm.
And I guess also speaking of HP1, Akon found something to get to 79 there, so they'll
Oh
both
yeah.
go down.
True. Yeah.
I hope he can get 79. I hope he doesn't make me send weird DMs to people to make him run that. I don't know if you've heard how 80 cast happened.
I haven't.
Yeah, basically, me and Akon were both in humans chat, and he made an offer that he would run 80 cast if we sent a message to Portal just saying it's me with no context and not explaining it. So we both did that, and then that gave us 2 attempts, and then he completed the run. For the record, it only took a few minutes for Portal to figure it out because he just went to humans chat and saw the log. That was a bit odd of a story, but I guess somehow it ended up with getting the current HP1 Lowcast world record.
Very interesting. That's it's really cool to see both go down. Um, but as you say, as you did say, you have been stepping into other territories, other challenge runs that we have, which I guess is a good opportunity to sort of segue into Jumpless.
Mhm.
Um, and I guess the first thing is, can you explain to people why originally Jumpless was thought to be impossible without warps?
Well, it was originally thought to be impossible without warps because of one specific level, Spongify, where you essentially have this one open room that has a Spongify tile on the floor and effectively nothing that you can grab onto to gain height anywhere. And it's actually pretty much impossible for the same reason that castless Spongify is nearly impossible, because there's effectively just nothing you can do in that room. It's just empty space with a gnome and an imp and like a table and a candle, and none of it really gets you anywhere. So it just seemed like there was nothing we could do to get past that room.
But between you and someone else who
Yeah,
I
the real me, really.
that's the one.
Who, yeah.
You
Thing is,
have
what's really ridiculous is that before even finding the current strat, which is basically free, he actually got in a replay that like theoretical strat of riding an imp all the way to the Spongify tile, which I guess to explain a bit more how that works, basically, you need to get Spongify storage in the very first room of the challenge, and then you need to cast on the imp from like before the room that it's in so that it'll activate and come chase you, and then you grab it and then you throw it on the ground, boost onto it, and then the imp, which is at that point basically in its code, it's going to be returning to its home position, and then you need to ride it all the way and then land on the Spongify tile. And that's basically the equivalent of like a pixie ride, in that you're just bouncing randomly and you need to somehow manage to stay on. And in terms of the difficulty, because there isn't like a wall or anything, it's sort of similar to what like the Goyle Pixie ride was in the last version of the run where we had that, except it's even harder because the imp has like a tiny hitbox compared to that Pixie, which is huge. So I'm amazed that anyone managed to do that at all, even though it's like a replay only strat that wouldn't actually work in the run.
Yeah,
That was really impressive. Shortly after that, he managed to, I guess, I mean, I assume he was looking into a bunch of different ways trying to get through the level jumpless, and somehow he happened upon a way that he sort of tripped onto the imp and managed to get that. And he didn't know, I guess, exactly how the imp's collision had gotten smaller, but he brought it up in Nixo's chat, and I pretty much immediately jumped on it because I was really interested in seeing how that strat would work, and I figured out a way to make the imp's collision smaller and replicate what he got, and then it just worked. And now it seems so easy in retrospect, even though it took so long for anyone to find this.
it. I mean, it's like a lot of strats. I feel like when you look at particularly HP2, where it
True.
seems like really obvious. It's something I've sort of thought about with Nixo doing the world record reactions from back in the day. Like you sort of think about how did people not know about this, but yeah, it's been 20 or so, not 20 because that's 2025, isn't it? Yeah, so like 19 or so years of speedrunning in this game, and we didn't know this was a thing. Or someone could have found it, but not said anything, or it could have got lost to time. That's the thing really with these games. It's like it feels like today there was something that was posted in the channel, and people were like, "I swear this was done another way." Like, and then like someone else linked back to them posting it, and then someone else under that had said, "I swear someone's done this strat before," and that video was from like 3 years ago. It's
See, someday, like 10 years from now, someone's going to find early chamber, and then someone else is going to remember, oh yeah, that was posted in like a Skype chat in 2012 or something. We forgot about it though.
Yeah, that's the problem that me and SLS often talk about, is the fact that all the Skype chats are gone. So there's just no record of the very early days, which is sad. But yeah, we live and we grow. Obviously, we have the Discord server now, and there is lots and lots of continued talk about making a wiki that never seems to go anywhere. Maybe one day we'll have a wiki. Anyway, getting slightly off topic. So okay, I guess you've answered that question. So now that this strat has been found, what does this change about other levels that we would normally have skipped with warping?
I mean, the other levels pretty much all had like their own strats already that people knew about. I guess I don't remember exactly which ones were bingo goals, but certainly some of the levels that we would normally skip with warping were like bingo goal to do jumpless. At least I think Defendo was, right?
Richter, all but Spongify, not Bicorn, Boomslang, Forest, and there was another one I think. I don't remember. I'm sure there was another one, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, I
But yeah,
mean Riktu, Boomsling, and Forest we can't skip with warping, so I guess if Defendo was one, then it's the only one that wouldn't have been in the run before. So let's see. The other levels that could warp out of in the run would be Scourge, Defendo, Goyle, and Slytherin. Yeah, that should be
yeah,
right. So yeah, Scourge is really mostly easy to get through jumpless, though it's kind of a bit more difficult if you want to actually do it fast. But it's not super hard as like a challenge run. I mean, at the end you do like the same boost off of the snail that's also a backup strat in some other runs. Well, not off of the snail, but off of like the snail pit that goes down. And before that, you can pretty much get through the level casually, although obviously you can do it a lot faster if you use speed strats. Let's see. Then Defendo, you can pretty much drop into a ledge and get a boost, though there's also a way to do it with bouncing off a snail, which is what I did in my run because I think it's a lot easier than dropping into that tiny ledge grab. I guess
Hmm.
if you want to see exactly what I'm talking about, you can look at the Defendo in my run, but it's a pretty simple strat. I have no idea if I'm the one who found that or not. I don't remember seeing it before, but that might just be because I wasn't paying attention. Then, let's see, Goyle. That level, I feel like, is almost entirely the same as what you would normally do, just you can't really do it with jumping. The only difference, I think, is right at the end, it's kind of annoying that you have to do a boost. Like when you leave the attic of the barn, you can't just walk onto the platform where you would normally go. So you have to do a boost off of like the hay bales. But that's not too difficult. And besides that, there's not really much that's changed. And then the last level, Slytherin, it's actually kind of weird that you actually have to do strats there. I feel like Slytherin is the exact same level in most categories. So you do have to do a little bit. I mean, you can either skip the bridge in a more difficult way than you would in a normal run, or you can actually go up and activate the bridge that gets activated in almost no category.
Unless you are me and can't do bridge skip and refuses to learn it because, yeah. Although it is now a bingo goal in 4.4 to repair the
Oh,
bridge.
that's
So
interesting.
we might see some more bridge repairs in the next year or so. But yeah,
Yes.
it's definitely interesting. Like I think I had done a jumpless. I'd done a jumpless Slytherin when the goal got added. 'Cause I think is that a goal? There was talk about adding a goal for that. I don't know if it did end up getting added. And I remember, I think I look at the draw. I got the boost first try in the bridge bit, like to go up to the top level, and I'm like, okay.
Nice.
I think like I seem to get weirdly lucky. Like I did full Scourge jumpless, and I managed to get the boost off on the swingy bit where the card is on the one side and the scales are after it. I managed to get
Mhm.
that boost first try, and I'm like, what is happening? Is it just easy, or am I just weirdly lucky? And then I went back and couldn't do it again, so I'm like, I'm just lucky. Anyway, getting sidetracked. Um, so yeah, I guess before I move to sort of the general closing questions, is there any other things you want to mention about Lowcast or Jumpless?
Yes. I don't really have particularly much to say. I guess I'd say anybody listening to this, go do runs of them. Though I doubt anybody is going to listen to me and do optimal Lowcast, so at least go do Jumpless Warpless. It's a pretty good category, as Portal will also tell you.
Indeed. I suppose the good thing about Lowcast, which is something I hadn't really thought about actually, but now I think about it, it's quite nice, is that you can really do it to a degree in whatever way you want. Like, obviously, over 100 casts is not allowed, but you can sort of pick and choose what strats you want to do,
True.
which
Oh,
I guess it makes it a really nice run.
oh, I remember Human's first Lowcast run was like 100 casts. I'm pretty sure he didn't like look into the strats at all, or at least not very much. So it's kind of funny that he had like the last strat on the leaderboard, even though he's really, really good at this game, obviously. But
Yeah,
yeah, that
he's
was an interesting run. And now he's what, like third on the Lowcast leaderboard, I think. I think he has like a 66, I want to say.
I will double check. I know he's. I'm pretty sure he's second in any percent at least at the moment. That man has really been grinding his HPC lately.
Yeah.
When speedrun.com wants to load.
Yeah.
Okay, category extensions.
I hope he gets any percent soon, but he's certainly been putting a lot of time into it and had a lot of runs very close to it.
Definitely, I think next month. Well, this month, but next month for the month where. It's always confusing when I talk to people about like the recap. Because I'm like, you'll be the host for January's recap. which is released, which is done in February. So it's like, I have to emphasize it's the recap for January releasing in February.
Mhm.
So yeah, speedrun.com. Are you there? Something went wrong. Really, you don't say. Then I guess while I look this up, I'll ask you one of my concluding questions. What is your proudest achievement so far in Harry Potter speedrunning?
That's a difficult question. I guess probably it's sort of weird to say this. The most difficult thing I've probably done is figuring out how to do the Defendo Pixie ride, which is kind of funny because it's totally pointless now, but that took me a long time, and I'm actually amazed that I managed to figure out a way to do that. When I first went into that, I was kind of overconfident and thought I would be able to figure it out pretty quickly just because I was really good by that point at doing the one in Bicorn, but I'm pretty sure I started looking into that in like June of 2022, and it took me until maybe October to actually figure it out. So I'm proud of having figured that out, even if it turned out to be slower than Cake Strat and way slower than the new updated version of Cake Strat.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean that's something to be proud of. That I think speedrun.com is having some pretty serious issues right now. So I might not be able to get those times for you, but you can find them yourselves if you look on the speedrun.com website under the
Yeah,
category
I'll
extensions for
check
Lowcast.
if it's working for me.
It's yeah, old reliable speedrun.com. Yeah, it's just being
Yeah,
really
it doesn't
slow.
seem to be loading for me either, but I'm pretty sure Human does have a 66 cast. I think he went for everything that was in 64 cast as it was before I started finding any new strats, except for the optimal gnome strat in Rictusempra and the first door clip in Bicorn, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what his route was.
Hmm. And my final question to you would be, and I think we've sort of touched on this, but I'm curious if you have any more. What are your goals for the future in speedrunning?
I guess my most immediate goal is to get 53 cast. Uh, Other than that, I'm not really sure, to be honest. Well, I'd like to at some point go back and actually learn HP1 Lowcast. I don't know if I want to do that optimally, but I do want to eventually learn that. I was trying in the past, but then I rage quit, not even at like the Lowcast strats, but just at like normal HP1 strats. Made me really annoyed and I just gave up. But I do want to try that again at some point.
Yeah, HP1 is a game that not everyone loves. It's it's weird. I was talking to someone else about this the other day. Like people say that Trifecta is like the most loved games, and I think it is. But there's a fair few people that really have like a thing against like one or even three. Like two, I think is the only game majority of people seem to not be able to say anything negative about.
Yeah. I feel like even the people who are negative about two, it's just they're negative about other people not being positive enough about other games. So it's just really a result of two's popularity.
Yeah, I mean two does have I think 17 categories at this point. So yeah,
Ridiculous. And that's not even counting like custom content categories, right? That's just main and
true. Yeah,
CE. So you'd have to
yeah.
add in more for like bingo and whatever else.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, bingo as well. Good shout. So yeah, HP2 is very popular, and as you have heard in this interview, people like to run it in challenging ways with Lowcast and Jumpless. Do you have any final comments you would like to make?
Yes, I can't really think of much else to say. It was nice talking to you. Uh, have a nice day. Well, I guess it's already like evening for you, so
Yes, I hope that those listening have a lovely rest of your day, and yeah, thank you, Ratburn, for joining me.
bye.
Thank you, Ratburn, for a wonderful interview. All being well, you can listen to Ratburn, myself, Henrik, and Flo on the inaugural episode of Recap Rewind next week on the Harry Potter Speedrunning Updates Twitch channel. You can check that out in the description below. Thanks for listening. Bye.